Today we're going to be making Boba Fett's helmet, as it's seen in the Book of Boba Fett. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Ryan, or RGR Productions, and on this channel, I make a bunch of really cool props just using cardboard, which is pretty much garbage. Alrighty, I don't want to delay you guys any longer, so let's just get straight into it.
Here's the prototype for my Boba Fett helmet. Pretty much what it is just half of the helmet that I constructed together just to get the overall basis and sizing for the whole piece. For the very beginning of building the helmet, I start with the frame. Now this is just a combination of multiple different pieces that add up to create a strong interior structure for the entire helmet, as you can see right here, as I've combined all the pieces together, and now it's ready for that main front visor piece to be attached. What I'm just going to do is wrap it around all the sides, but before I do that, I need to start curving it. I started just by gluing the two halves together, and then I put small dots just to attach it to the supports. Remember, you do not want to glue it very strong to the supports because you're going to have to be removing those later on. You're just kind of attaching it just so it'll stay, but not so it'll stay forever. You want it to be temporary. Now at the back of this piece, I was a little bit short with my measurements, so what I had to do was add a little chunk of cardboard to fill in that gap. And here's what that piece looks like all attached. You can see that little gap piece in the back, and now I'm gonna go work on these cheek parts. So I have this main piece that goes up on the top upper edge, and what I'm just going to do is curve it on so it'll attach nice and easily here. Curving it is the same exact way as the lens piece, but it's actually curved two different directions instead of just one. And I'm just kind of forcing it into the gap. It's okay if there's some wrinkles because that'll get covered up later, but just make sure that you reinforce those glue edges after you remove the supports as well, because right now it might be a little difficult to access those areas. I'm also attaching the lower cheek piece, which is pretty much just a semicircle with a couple cambered edges to it. I also repeat the same thing for the other side. And here's what the cheek piece looks like attached on. Now what I'm going to do is cut out where the lens will sit, so I'm just going very carefully over all the edges with my X-Acto knife and making sure that it is coming out. And here you can see what that lens looks like all cut out. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in this back plate. So to do that, I have this one piece and it's going to get curved up and then put in that gap. Now I'm going to start working on the dome. So I have this main piece right here. This is just a template that goes forward across from the front to back of the helmet, and I'm just attaching it at the very front. But first I need to cover up a bit of the corrugation. So to do that, I just take a piece of cardboard, peel off the top layer, and then glue on that remaining strip. And now I can glue on this dome piece. So what I do is I add a little cutout in that support piece so I can actually fit the dome part in there. And then I start gluing up those little darts together, and I have multiple videos that go over how to do that. You can see what it looks like completed here, but it fits nicely and wraps all the way around to the back edge. And now for the side pieces, it's pretty much the same technique, but it's just a little bit skinnier and it fits on really nicely, just kind of smooths out the whole dome shape. And now I need to do that same thing for the other side of the dome as well. And now I'm starting to work on the diagonal areas. It's pretty much the exact same technique as the front to back pieces, but it just goes across diagonally. And you're gonna do this for all four corners. Now to fill in the gap, all I do is just hold up a piece of cardboard and then trace where I think it will sit, cut it out, and if it fits, then I go ahead and glue it in. The next thing to work on is the dent. So what I did is I crinkled up a piece of cereal box cardboard, cut a little dart in it just so it could sit at a more concave shape, and then I traced out the shape that I think it would fit on the dome, and then I put that piece of cardboard in it. Then I just trimmed off the excess with my X-Acto knife. And now I'm just repeating that same dome making method for the back half, and eventually it's going to be repeated for the other parts as well. Now the next thing I can do after the dome is completed is I can cut out this little back vent. And now that I have that cut out, I can start working on the detail piece that goes on the right side of the helmet if you're looking at it from the front. And this piece is the basis for the rangefinder, where it'll have a hole cut out so the PVC pipe can fit on this. And this will also be attached to the side of the helmet. And now this is a little frame piece that goes inside for the back vent to rest in, and now I'm going to start working on that back vent. It's a very complicated process, but I think it has 6 vent holes, and they're kind of curved, and what I did is I added some wooden dowels to the edges just to give it a little bit of structural support. And then once I was happy with that, I glued it in. Now I'm going to start working on the arrows that go at the very front, so I just cut out this little piece and glued it on at the very front and made sure to make some room for it. And this piece is the basis for that detail that goes on the side, so I'm going to take the piece that I made earlier and just glue that on and make sure to cover up all the corrugation edges. And these pieces are the basis for the rangefinder, which get attached to this piece of PVC pipe after being wrapped around this wooden dowel that rests inside of it. And this creates a very strong bond after it's been resined. Now here's a little bit of work done on the top of the rangefinder. Pretty much what I did is I just made a little skeleton, and then I'm adding panels that go around it to give it a finished look. The next step for this helmet is to resin it. Now I'm using 2-part epoxy resin, which is just the resin and then the hardener, and you mix them together in equal parts. But one thing that I did learn while working on this helmet is that the resin does not cure very well in cold temperatures. And as of right now, me making this helmet in December, there are, well, cold temperatures. So pretty much when you use resin in cold temperatures, make sure to heat up the resin by placing the bottles inside of some warm water just for a couple minutes to make sure that it stays warm. And then the most important part is to let the project cure in a warm area. I did not do that for my first coat, and it did not end well. It was very, very fragile, and I had to sand it all down and do it again. I'm going to do 2 layers on the outside, and then to get to the inside, I'm going to remove these supports because they are not needed anymore. I just take my time going around the edges with my X-Acto knife, making sure to pull every piece out and create a hollow inside for the ability to resin that as well. And just for a little bit of extra support, I'm taking that lens piece that I cut out earlier and just taping it right back in the spot where it was, just to add a little bit more structural security there. And now I'm ready to resin the inside. At this point, I am using that heat-treated resin, and it works much better, and I'm also not leaving it in the cold garage to cure. I'm bringing it inside to a warmer spot. The product I use is called Alex Flex Flexible Spackling, and it's pretty much a wall filler, but it works really well for filling in the small gaps on this helmet. Some areas that might not need to be covered are some flatter areas like on the sides of the helmet. And now it's time to sand down the helmet. So I have it all dried. I let it dry for about 6 hours. I'm taking my mouse sander with some 120 grit pads on it, and I'm just going over the entire helmet and making sure that it's fairly smooth. Again, it's not going to be perfect on your first pass. What you're going to want to do is go over it again with some more spackle and fill in all the imperfections. And I did that 3 times, and it gave a really smooth result. I also went ahead and resined those smaller detail pieces, and right now I'm just going and sanding them down with the mouse sander. For primer, I use this product called Rust-Oleum Filler Primer. Pretty much what it is just a thick spray paint that you apply over the entire project, and it fills in some of those smaller imperfections. And this can also be sanded down later on. Here's what the filler primer looks like after a light sanding. As you can see, it's nice and smooth. This piece is ready for paint. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint that side detail on the left side of the helmet with this nutmeg color. And then once I had that painted, as well as those front top upper cheeks painted black, I went ahead and masked those off to be hit with this specialty green paint. This is from Montana Black and it's called Storm. It worked amazingly, but you can only buy these online, so I'll have some links in the description where you can buy these. And then I went ahead and masked off everything except for the parts I wanted to be painted red. Now those parts were painted with another Montana Black color called Cardinal. Now when you take the tape off, this is the most satisfying part of the entire build. But with this project, I ended up peeling up some spots of paint. So you just gotta make sure to go very slowly. But other than that, you can have some fun with this step. I also went ahead and unmasked the top of the rangefinder, which was black, and it ended up looking really nice. And this helmet is starting to come together. Now the weathering stage is arguably the best part and the most fun and enjoyable process of this build because you get to customize the hell out of it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can add a bunch of dirty details like I did. I tried to go a little bit minimalistic, try to follow the source material, but if you look at some of the images, especially some of the newer ones that released in the promo shots for the Book of Boba Fett, you can see that there are some dirtier spots, especially around all the edges. So I tried to replicate that with some very watered down brown paint. And then I also went a little bit heavier again over it, just in those darker areas, but I didn't touch the main areas that much. As you can see, I'm doing a very light wash over the entire thing, and then those deep grooves get covered with some deep dark colors of paint. That ended up looking amazing. Now the next step was to paint those details along the side, and I went ahead and used some orange paint. It was almost a red color, but not quite. I just tried to match the details. I spaced out some tape and just added all those hash marks along the sides. And now I got to peel off that tape, again being careful, but it also wasn't that bad. And also make sure to add that one black mark at the very back, because that is essential to his look. And then I also went ahead and weathered it with some silver paint. I kind of messed up and forgot to record me weathering the front of it, but I got the back part. So pretty much what I do is I get a little bit of silver paint on my brush, and I just add chip marks all over it. Now the back I couldn't really find some reference images for, so I just improvised, but the front is definitely accurate to the material. Now I'm working on attaching that upper cap piece over the rangefinder, and what I do is I just add a couple wooden dowels to the sides and then drill some holes so it can fit inside and snap onto the main helmet and hold itself in place. Alright guys, we're almost there. The only thing left to do is to tint the lens and glue that in, and then it's done. To tint the lens, all I do is take a face shield from Amazon and a little bit of car window tint and some soapy water. I spray the soapy water on it, and then I apply the tint with a squeegee, and then all I need to do is glue that piece in. I also went ahead and removed those support pieces that were holding that lens shape together.
With all of those steps I just showed you and adding the lens, the helmet is completed. So let's go see the finished product. And well, that's it. That's how I made my Boba Fett helmet, as seen in the book of Boba Fett. This helmet was very fun to make, and it was also pretty cool to see the transition that I made from my helmet I made in February to now. I think it's a pretty big difference. Why don't I show you? So here you can see both of the helmets that I made. This one was in February, and this one is just now. And I think it's amazing how far I've been able to come just in the span of 1 year. And due to some recent events on the channel, I am very close to hitting 20,000 subscribers. I'm filming this in mid-December though, so maybe we'll already be there. But regardless, thank you guys so much for the constant support on this channel, and I'm really looking forward to where we're going in the future. Speaking of the future, the next helmet I'm going to be making is not exactly from Star Wars. Although it may be a while until I release it, I'll show you guys a little sneak peek. This video will be coming out sometime in January, so look forward to that. And if you want to make this helmet, along with my Captain Rex one from my last video, there will be some templates up on my Etsy store because I'll have time over break to work on those, so look forward to those going up. Well guys, I think that's it. This was a blast to make. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next year.
If you've made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing. You've made it to the end, so most likely you enjoyed the video.